Captain Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the research vessel Prometheus, watching the stars drift past through the main viewport. They had been traveling through the Kepler 442 system for 3 weeks now, searching for signs of ancient debris or mineral deposits that could benefit Earth's growing space colonies. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," called Lieutenant Park Gina from her sensor station. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing display panels as data streamed. Across her screens, Minho walked over to examine the readings. The numbers didn't make sense. Whatever was out there was too large to be normal space junk, but it wasn't giving off the heat signature of an active ship either. "How far out?" he asked. 2 million kilometers, drifting between the 4th and 5th planets," Gina replied. "The signal is weak, but constant. It's not natural, Captain. Something made this." Engineer Kim Hanna looked up from her workstation. "Near the engine controls. Could be an old probe from one of the early colony missions. Maybe it got lost out here." Dr. Choi Daeho, the ship's science officer, shook his head as he studied his own instruments. "The metal composition is all wrong for human technology. These readings show materials we've never seen before." Minho felt his heart beat faster. In his 15 years of deep space exploration, he had found plenty of interesting rocks and dead satellites, but never anything truly mysterious. "Change course. Take us in for a closer look." The Prometheus turned smoothly through space, its engines humming quietly as they approached the unknown object. As they got closer, the crew gathered around the main screen to watch. What they saw took their breath away. Floating in the darkness was a massive vessel, easily 3 times the size of their own ship. Its hull was black as midnight, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move and shift when they looked at them directly. The craft had no lights, no signs of power, but somehow it didn't look dead. It looked like it was sleeping. "My God," whispered Yoon Sora, the team's expert on ancient civilizations. "Look at those markings. They're not random. There's a pattern, a language maybe." The patterns along the hull pulsed faintly, like a slow heartbeat. Lines of silver and blue, traced. Complex designs that hurt to look at for too long. The ship's shape was unlike anything humans had ever built, smooth and organic, as if it had grown rather than been constructed. "Life support readings?" Minho asked. "Atmosphere inside, but thin," reported Kim Hanna. "Temperature is just above freezing. No immediate radiation dangers." "Any response to our signals?" Communications Officer Lim Sun-woo shook his head. "Nothing on any frequency." "But Captain, the hull is definitely reflecting our scans in an organized pattern. Almost like it's trying to communicate but doesn't know how." Minho made his decision. "Prepare the shuttle. Small team only, myself, Dr. Choi, Yoon Sora, and Security Chief Nam Hyok. Everyone else stays here and monitors our life signs." 20 minutes later, their shuttle docked with an airlock that opened automatically as they approached. The ancient mechanisms worked perfectly, as if they had been waiting for visitors. Inside the alien vessel, emergency lighting activated, casting everything in a soft blue glow. The corridors were tall and wide, built for beings much larger than humans. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly with their own inner light. "The air is breathable," Dr. Choi announced, checking his scanner. "Oxygen levels are good, but there's something else in the atmosphere, something organic." They moved deeper into the ship, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Everything was preserved perfectly, as if the crew had just stepped out for a moment. But the dust on the floors told a different story. This place had been empty for a very long time. At the heart of the vessel, they found a massive chamber filled with what looked like living machinery. Tubes and cables pulsed with soft light, connected to a central column that stretched from floor to ceiling. Inside the column, something moved. "Is that ... Sora began, but her words trailed off as the chamber suddenly came alive. The walls erupted, in cascading patterns of light, blues, greens, and colors that had no names. The displays moved like water, forming shapes and symbols that changed faster than the human eye could follow. But somehow, looking at them, the crew began to understand. The lights were trying to speak. Slowly, carefully, Dr. Choi approached the central column. Through the transparent material, he could see something vast and ancient, not quite alive, not quite machine, but something in between. It had been waiting in the darkness for longer than human civilization had existed. The entity had felt their ship approaching and had awakened from its long sleep. Through the dancing lights on the walls, it expressed wonder and joy. After countless years alone in the void, it had finally found others who traveled among the stars. "Hello," the lights seemed to say. "I have been waiting for you." Captain Min realized that humanity had just made first contact, and nothing would ever be the same again. Dr. Song Minji arrived at the Prometheus 3 days after Captain Minho's team made their discovery. Her transport ship had traveled at maximum speed from the Luna Research Station, carrying with it the hopes of every scientist on Earth. As humanity's leading expert on alien biology, she would be the first to attempt real communication with another intelligent species. The ancient vessel still floated silently in space, its dark hull pulsing with faint patterns of light. Minji suited up quickly and joined the shuttle crew heading back to the alien ship. Her hands shook slightly as she checked her equipment, translation software, biological scanners, and recording devices that would capture every moment of humanity's first conversation with alien intelligence. Professor Kang Woojin met her at the airlock. The language expert had been working non-stop since the discovery, trying to understand the light patterns that covered the ship's walls. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his excitement was clear. "The patterns repeat," he explained as they walked through the corridors. "Not exactly the same, but there are basic structures, like grammar rules, in a language made of light." They entered the central chamber where the entity waited. The column of light in the center pulsed more brightly when it sensed their presence. The walls came alive with dancing colors that moved in waves across the room. Communications officer Lim Sun-woo had set up his equipment around the chamber. Screens showed the light patterns as they appeared, trying to find mathematical relationships that might reveal meaning. "It's definitely trying to communicate," he said. "When we make sounds, the patterns change. When we touch the walls, they respond." Minji approached the central column slowly. Through the clear material, she could see something that looked part machine, part living tissue. It was beautiful and strange, unlike anything in Earth's biology textbooks. She placed her hand against the column's surface. The response was immediate. The entire chamber filled with warm golden light that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The entity had felt her touch and was trying to welcome her. "It's not aggressive," she reported to the team. "Whatever this being is, it seems happy to see us." Over the following days, the team worked to establish basic communication. They started with simple concepts, numbers, shapes, colors. The entity, which they began calling Keeper, learned quickly. It would display patterns on the walls, wait for their response, then adjust its signals based on their reactions. Professor Kang made the first breakthrough. He noticed that certain light patterns always appeared together, like words in a sentence. By showing the entity mathematical sequences, they established a basic number system. From there, they could begin to discuss more complex ideas. "Your people." The translated message appeared on their screens one morning. Young, strong, curious. The simple words sent chills through the entire crew. They were actually talking to an alien being, sharing thoughts across the vast difference between species. Keeper began to share its story. Through patient exchanges of light and meaning, its people had once lived on worlds that orbited distant stars. They had built great cities and traveled between galaxies like humans traveled between countries. But something terrible had happened to their home worlds. The entity's descriptions were unclear. but it seemed like their suns had died, or their planets had become poisoned. Security Chief Nam Hyok remained cautious, always watching for signs of danger. But as the days passed, it became clear that Keeper meant no harm. The ancient beings seemed lonely, grateful for company after so many years alone in the dark. "Why are you here?" Minji asked, through their growing translation system. The answer came slowly, in waves of color that took hours to decode. Keeper's people had not simply fled their dying worlds. They had chosen to become watchers, placing themselves in the empty spaces between stars to observe younger species as they developed. Most civilizations, Keeper explained, destroyed themselves before they learned to travel safely among the stars. But a few showed promise. "You interest us," the lights said. "Your species survives where others fail. You adapt. You help each other." Keeper began sharing small pieces of knowledge, mathematical principles that could improve their engines, medical information that might cure diseases, energy sources that could power entire cities. But each gift came with questions that tested their wisdom. "If your people found a world with primitive life, what would you do?" Keeper asked. "Would you share dangerous knowledge with those who might misuse it? How do you decide who deserves help and who does not?" The questions forced the crew to think deeply about humanity's values and goals. They realized this wasn't just first contact, it was an examination. Keeper was testing them, judging whether humans could be trusted with greater secrets. Dr. Wang, ICL, monitoring from Earth, sent daily reports about the growing excitement among world governments. Everyone wanted to know what the alien could teach them, but Keeper was more interested in what humans could teach themselves. As the weeks passed, the relationship between human and alien deepened. Keeper shared stories of other species it had encountered, some wise, some foolish, most somewhere in between. It spoke of civilizations that had risen and fallen while humans were still learning to make fire. But through it all, Keeper seemed most fascinated by humanity's stubborn refusal to give up. Other species had accepted defeat when faced with impossible challenges. Humans just found new ways to survive and grow. The real test, Keeper hinted, was still coming. The walls of the ancient vessel shifted to a deep red color as Keeper prepared to reveal the truth. Captain Minho and his crew had grown comfortable with their alien host over the past month. But now the atmosphere felt different, more serious, more dangerous. "Your species has impressed us," the translated message appeared on their screens. "But observation is not enough. We must know if you are truly ready." Dr. Song Minji looked up from her biological readings. "Ready? For what?" The lights on the walls pulsed slowly before responding. "To inherit what we leave behind. To become what we have become. To watch over those who will come after you." Commander O. Jayan stepped forward. As the ship's tactical officer, he was trained to spot potential threats. "You've been testing us this whole time, haven't you?" "Yes," came the simple reply. "And now the real tests begin." The chamber around them began to change. The walls became transparent, showing a vast space filled with holographic displays. Stars and planets appeared in the air around them, along with ships and cities that looked nothing like human technology. "These are simulations," Keeper explained. "Scenarios that other species have faced. You must show us how humanity would respond." The first test appeared before them, like a three-dimensional movie. A human colony ship approached a beautiful green planet, but scans showed intelligent life already living there. Primitive beings with simple tools and basic language lived in harmony with their world. "What do you do?" Keeper asked. The crew discussed the options. Engineer Jung Seokmin wanted to find another planet, leaving the natives alone. Pilot Bei Yura suggested making peaceful contact and sharing the world. Dr. Han Yunji worried about contaminating the alien culture with human ideas. "We find somewhere else," Captain Minho decided finally. They were there first. "The galaxy is big enough for everyone." The simulation changed. showing the human ship continuing its journey to find an empty world nearby. Keeper's lights pulsed in what seemed like approval. The second test was harder. A human research station detected a distress signal from an alien ship that had crashed on a dangerous moon. The aliens were dying, but saving them would risk human lives and expensive equipment. Worse, the aliens came from a species that had attacked human colonies in the past. They tried to kill us before, Security Chief Nam Hyok pointed out. Why should we risk our people for them? Because it's the right thing to do, Dr. Choi Daeho argued. Whatever happened before, these beings need help now. Communications Officer Lim Sunwoo studied the simulation. Maybe we can find a way to help them without putting our people in too much danger. After long debate, they chose to attempt a rescue using robotic drones first, then human rescuers if necessary. The simulation showed their plan working, saving most of the alien crew while keeping human casualties low. The tests continued for hours, each one more complex than the last. Keeper showed them scenarios involving resource shortages, first contact with hostile species, and moral dilemmas that had no perfect solutions. Each time, the crew had to work together to find answers that balanced human needs with broader ethical concerns. You think differently than most, Keeper observed after. They had completed several scenarios. Other species focus only on their own survival. You consider the effects of your actions on others. The final test was the most challenging. The simulation showed Earth facing destruction from a cosmic disaster, a dying star that would consume the solar system. Humanity had developed the technology to save themselves, but only by taking resources from other worlds, potentially dooming alien civilizations. The crew fell silent as they considered the impossible choice: save humanity by harming others, or face extinction while keeping their moral principles. How many species have faced this test? Dr. Song Mingi asked quietly. Many, Keeper replied. Most choose their own survival, above all else. Some choose noble death over compromise. Few find a third path. Engineer Kim Hannah worked furiously at her portable computer, running calculations. What if we don't think about it as taking from others? She said suddenly. What if we think about it as working with others? She explained her idea. Humanity could share their life-saving technology with alien species, working together to find solutions that might save everyone. It would be harder and more dangerous, but it offered hope for all. The resources we need might come from dead worlds, asteroids, or gas giants where no one lives. Pilot Yoon Sora added, we don't have to steal from others if we're willing to work harder. Keeper's lights brightened considerably. 10,000 years, it said. 10,000 years since we found a species that looked for ways to save everyone, rather than choosing between salvation and sacrifice. The simulations faded, returning the chamber to its normal appearance, but something had changed. The crew could feel it in the way Keeper's lights moved, and the warmth that seemed to fill the air around them. You have passed, the ancient being announced. But passing the tests is only the beginning. Now you must choose whether you want the responsibility that comes with knowledge. Captain Minho looked around at his crew. They were tired, mentally drained from hours of impossible decisions. But they were also proud. Humanity had proven itself worthy in the eyes of an ancient judge. The question now was whether they were ready for whatever came next. The return journey to Earth felt different for Captain Minho and his crew. The Prometheus carried more than just people now. It carried the weight of humanity's future. In the cargo hold, sealed containers held samples of Keeper's technology. Gifts that could change everything humans understood about science and space travel. Dr. Song Minji sat in the ship's medical bay, reviewing recordings of their conversations with the ancient being. Keeper's final message played over and over in her mind. Knowledge comes with responsibility. Power comes with duty. Choose wisely. The alien had made its offer clear. Humanity could receive access to technologies that would advance their civilization by thousands of years. Faster than light travel, unlimited clean energy, medical treatments that could cure any disease, and scientific knowledge that would make them one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. But the price was equally clear. Humans would have to give up their plans for rapid expansion across the galaxy. Instead, they would become guardians like Keeper, watching over younger species and guiding them toward wisdom. They would spend their future helping others, rather than focusing only on human growth. As soon as the Prometheus reached Earth's orbit, the world went crazy with excitement and fear. News broadcasts showed crowds gathered in every major city, some celebrating the discovery of alien life, others worried about what contact with aliens might mean for humanity's independence. Director Shin Dong-woo called an emergency session of the Unified Earth Council. Representatives from every nation and colony gathered in Geneva to hear Captain Minho's report. The meeting hall buzzed with nervous energy as the crew shared their experiences and played recordings of their conversations with Keeper. "The being claims it has been watching us," said President Martinez from the North American Federation. "How do we know this isn't some kind of trap?" Dr. Wang Iziel, Earth's leading expert on space policy, studied the alien technology samples through protective glass. "These energy readings are beyond anything we've ever seen. If Keeper wanted to harm us, it wouldn't need tricks. It could probably destroy our entire solar system with this level of technology." The debates went on for weeks. Scientists wanted to accept the offer immediately, excited by the possibility of learning alien secrets. Military leaders worried about becoming servants to an alien master. Religious groups argued about whether humans had the right to play God with other species. Park Min-soo, leader of the Earth Independence Movement, gave passionate speeches against accepting Keeper's deal. "We've fought for centuries to control our own destiny," he declared at rallies across the planet. "Now we're supposed to give up our freedom to become alien babysitters." But Dr. Cho Gi-won, speaking for the Global Science Council, argued the opposite view. "This isn't about losing our freedom. It's about growing up as a species. Every parent eventually becomes responsible for guiding their children. Maybe it's time for humanity to become a parent species." The crew of the Prometheus found themselves at the center of the global debate. Captain Minho testified before Congress, Parliament, and the United Nations Assembly. Engineer Kim Hanna appeared on news shows to explain the alien technology. Dr. Song Minji worked with philosophers and ethicists to explore the moral implications of Keeper's offer. Public opinion polls showed humanity split almost evenly. Urban populations generally supported accepting the responsibility, believing it would make humans better people. Rural and colonial communities worried about losing their pioneer spirit and independence. Young people especially embraced the idea. Student protests demanded that world leaders accept Keeper's offer. "You've ruined our planet with wars and pollution," shouted college activist Lee Jimin at a rally in Seoul. "Maybe it's time to try a different path." But older generations remembered the struggles their ancestors had faced building human civilization. "My grandfather died fighting for human freedom," said retired General Thompson at a veterans meeting. "I won't throw that away for alien promises." The decision deadline approached. Keeper had given humanity 6 months to choose, warning that the offer would not come again. Either humans would accept the role of galactic guardians, or they would continue their development alone. Without alien help, Director Shin Dong-woo worked day and night to build consensus among world leaders. Private meetings, secret negotiations, and careful compromises slowly moved the discussion forward. The key breakthrough came when they realized the choice didn't have to be all or nothing. "What if we start small?" suggested Ambassador Chen from the Asian Trade Federation. "Accept the responsibility, but begin with just 1 or 2 species. Learn how to be guardians before we take on the whole galaxy." Engineer Ru Tae-young, who had been studying Keeper's technology, supported this gradual approach. The alien said, "Its people watched hundreds of species, over thousands of years. Maybe we can start with just one, and see how we do." The final vote came on a cold Tuesday morning in Geneva. Representatives sat quietly as the electronic ballots were counted. The margin was narrow, just 54% in favor of accepting Keeper's offer. Not the overwhelming mandate some had hoped for, but enough to move forward. As the results were announced, Captain Minho felt both relief and worry. Humanity had chosen to become something new, something greater than themselves, but they were about to take on responsibilities they didn't fully understand, guided only by the wisdom of an alien being they had known for less than a year. The real test of human character was about to begin. Captain Minho stood once again in the central chamber of Keeper's ancient vessel, but this time everything felt different. 6 months had passed since humanity made its choice, and now he led a carefully selected team of 30 specialists from around the world. They had come to learn how to become guardians of the galaxy. The chamber had been transformed. New equipment filled the space, human computers working alongside alien technology, translation devices that could handle dozens of languages, and monitoring screens that showed star systems across their region of space. It looked like mission control for the entire galaxy. "Welcome back." Keeper's message appeared on the screens in perfect Korean, English, and 12 other human languages. "Are you ready to begin your education?" Dr. Song Minji activated her recording equipment while Professor Kang Woo-jin checked the translation systems one final time. Communications specialist Seo Yejin sat at a console that could reach across thousands of light years. And strategist Kim Jinwoo, REVIEWED, files containing everything humans had learned about alien psychology and behavior. The first lesson was overwhelmment. Keeper showed them a 3-dimensional map of their local galactic region, with thousands of colored dots representing different worlds. Green dots were planets with intelligent life that had already achieved space travel. Yellow dots showed worlds where intelligence was just beginning to develop. Red dots marked dead civilizations that had destroyed themselves. "Your responsibility will cover approximately 2,000 star systems," Keeper explained. "Most contain no intelligent life, but 47 systems show signs of developing consciousness. These are your primary concern." Engineer Cho Juan stared at the massive display. "How do we watch so many worlds at once?" "Patience and technology," came the reply. "We will build monitoring stations throughout your region. Each station can observe dozens of systems simultaneously, looking for the signals that indicate a species is ready for contact." Over the following weeks, Keeper taught them to recognize these signals. Radio transmissions were usually the first sign, a species trying to communicate beyond their own world. Nuclear weapons came next, showing they had learned to split atoms, but hadn't yet destroyed themselves. Spaceflight meant they were ready to leave their home planet and explore. But the most important signal is cooperation, Keeper emphasized during one lesson. Species that work together across their differences are more likely to survive contact with the galaxy. The ancient Guardian showed them examples from its long experience. Civilizations that had built great technologies but remained divided by hatred and war almost always destroyed themselves. Species that learned to share resources and knowledge had better chances of surviving their early space age. "What about species that are naturally aggressive?" asked security analyst Nam Hyuk. "Some beings might be dangerous no matter how advanced they become." Keeper's lights dimmed slightly. "This is the hardest part of being a guardian. Sometimes you must make the choice to isolate a species rather than help them grow. Not all intelligence leads to wisdom." The training continued for months. The human team learned to operate alien monitoring equipment, to interpret the complex signals that indicated technological development, and to make the difficult decisions about when to make contact with a new species. Their first real test came sooner than expected. Dr. Ryu Tae-yoon, monitoring the outer rim of their assigned region, detected unusual radio signals from a water world orbiting a red dwarf star. The signals were organized and mathematical, clearly artificial, but unlike anything in the alien database, it's a completely aquatic civilization, he reported excitedly. They've never left their oceans, but they're using sound waves to communicate across their entire planet. The team gathered around the monitoring station to study the signals. The aquatic beings had developed complex mathematics and seemed to be working together on planet-wide engineering projects. Their radio signals showed no signs of warfare or aggressive behavior. They're ready, Dr. Song Minji concluded after days of analysis. They're cooperative, technologically advanced, and curious about the universe beyond their world. Captain Minho felt his heart racing. This would be humanity's first attempt at guiding another species, their chance to prove they could handle the responsibility Keeper had given them. "How do we make contact?" asked Communications Officer Lim Sun-woo. Keeper's guidance came through their translation system. Slowly, carefully. Let them know they are not alone, but do not overwhelm them. Remember how you felt when you first found us. The team spent weeks preparing their first message to the aquatic beings. They chose simple mathematical concepts, followed by basic information about hydrogen and water, things the ocean dwellers would understand. The message would take 3 years to reach the distant world, and another 3 years for any reply to come back, as they transmitted humanity's first message as Galactic Guardians. Captain Minho looked around at his team, engineers and scientists, linguists and strategists, all working together to help another species take its first steps toward the stars. Strange to think we're not the ones seeking guidance anymore, Dr. Song Mingi said quietly as they watched their signal race toward the distant water world. "No," Captain Minho replied, thinking of Keeper's long vigil in the darkness. "Now, we're the ones waiting in the endless dark, ready to help when someone finds us." The galaxy felt different now, not empty and threatening, but full of potential. Humanity had become the guardians, and their first students were already reaching toward the stars.